Hi everyone, I'm here with a Bible reading. I hope you're having a good day.
Hey, look, little kid. Look at the camera, little kid.
I'm already looking at the camera, little kid. Now go sit down.
No.
Go sit down.
No.
You got it set where you need to set it.
Look at little kid, little camera. Look at little kid. Look.
I have a 2-year-old, I'm sorry. It's how it is around here every day.
I don't want to come off now, friend.
Yeah, you might want to empty it, rinse it out and get a new one. No, you have to. Unless you want to put ice in a cup and let it melt like me. You want my cup? I probably got some of mine, but I'm not drink it anyway. Okay, so let me tell you guys what we'll be reading today. Did that look too freaky? Do we need to start over?
No.
Freaky. So today we're going to be reading Luke chapter 22, Luke 22 verse 54 through chapter 23 verse 12. Psalm 95 and 96, 2 Psalms, and Proverbs chapter 14 verses 5 and 6. So we'll be continuing on today from Jesus getting arrested yesterday. And remember, Jesus told Peter that all the disciples were going to abandon him, okay, when he got arrested. And they all flee, just like Jesus said. And Peter's like, no, Lord, I will go down to the death with you if I have to, you know. And Jesus is like, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter did not believe that. He said, never, Lord. Never, Lord. I'll die with you if I have to. Now remember, you don't know what you're going to do when you're in that situation, when you're terrified for your own life. So don't judge Peter. You can't judge Peter unless you was there in that situation yourself at that time. Okay, so let's begin. Then seizing Jesus, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest. Peter followed at a distance. All the other ones flew completely away. But Peter was, sneaking around. And when some there had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and had sat down together, Peter sat down with them because he wanted to see what was going to happen. A servant girl saw him seated there in the firelight. She looked closely at him and said, "This man was with him." But he denied it. "Woman, I don't know him," he said. Once. A little later, someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." "Man, I am not," Peter replied. Twice. About an hour later, another asserted, "Certainly this fellow was with him, for he is a Galilean." Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you are talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. 3 times before the rooster crowed. Just like Jesus said. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. That part always tears my heart out. Because it's just like you can feel what Peter was feeling when Jesus looked at him. Jesus looking at him, saying, "Peter, you know I told you what was going to happen." Peter knew right then what he had done. And he didn't do it because he hated the Lord. He loved the Lord very, very much. He still did. He was scared. Okay? Peter replied, "Man, I don't know him." And Jesus then turned and looked straight at Peter when the rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word that the Lord had spoken to him. Before the rooster crows today, you would disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. You think that changed Jesus' love for Peter? Not one bit. And he knew that when Jesus raised from the dead and was on this earth for 40 days before he ascended to heaven. And he didn't hold a grudge against any of the disciples whatsoever. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded Jesus and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. So remember, just imagine yourself, or more importantly, the one you love most in this world, which should be the Lord, but imagine the family member you love most in this world, this happening to them. And then you'll see a little more of what a heartbreaking and horrible thing this is. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. "If you are the Messiah," they said, "tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe me. And if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God." This is pretty much lit a fire under them, made them very angry. They all asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" He replied, "You say that I am." Then they said, "Why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips." Then the whole assembly rose and led him off to Pilate. Pilate was the governor. And they began to accuse him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be Messiah, a king." That's a lie. They lied on him. He never opposed payment of taxes to Caesar. He said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." Remember that? When he said, "Show me denarius, whose inscription is on this," he asked them. And they said, "Caesar's." And he said, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." He never opposed taxes to Caesar. He even sent Simon to the lake, to the sea, to the first fish you catch. Jesus told Peter, "Go there and let down a line, and the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and there will be a coin in it. Bring it back to pay your taxes and mine." And it was done exactly as he was said. He even paid his taxes. So Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. Then Pilate announced to the chief priests and the crowd, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But they insisted, "He stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was a Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. Did you see that? It's kind of scary. So Pilate and Herod were sending Jesus back and forth, and Herod was actually glad Jesus was sent there because he'd been wanting to meet Jesus, But he was not very friendly to him either, and ended up sending him back to Pilate. And Pilate and Herod were like enemies or whatever until this happened. Then they became friends because of this. When Herod saw Jesus, he was greatly pleased because for a long time he had been wanting to see him. From what he had heard about him, he hoped to see him perform a sign of some sort. He plied him with many questions, but Jesus gave him no answer. The chief priests and the teachers of the law were standing there, vehemently accusing him. Then Herod and his soldiers ridiculed and mocked him, dressing him in an elegant robe. I'm sure that was purple, because purple was the sign, purple and scarlet were the sign of royalty back then, because those collars were very expensive. So they dressed him in an elegant robe and sent him back to Pilate. They also shoved a crown of thorns on his head. We're not talking about little rose thorns. We're talking about great big thorns. Have you ever seen those on a tree? I never did till my mom got remarried and we was up in the woods somewhere. And there was these trees that had massive thorns on them like that. And I heard those ones are poisonous. I don't know. But they shoved those on Jesus' head. And apparently those weren't poisonous. Those ones they said were. They shoved them on his head. Very painful, big thorns. And blood was pouring down his face, okay? So they sent him back like that. That day, Herod and Pilate became friends. Before this, they had been enemies. So this brought them together as friends. That's where we're stopping with Luke today. Okay, so the first psalm we're going to start with, we have two today, 95 and 96. So let's read Psalm 95. Come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock, our salvation. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and extol him with music and song. For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth, and the mountain peaks belong to him. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Come, let us bow down and worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker, for he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, the flock under his care. Today, if only you would hear his voice. Do not harden your hearts as you did at Meribah, as you did that day at Massah in the wilderness, where your ancestors tested me. They tried me, though they had seen what I did. For 40 years I was angry with that generation. I said, they are a people whose hearts go astray, and they have not known my ways. So I declared an oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. And that was Psalm 95. That's when God rescued the Hebrews from the land of Egypt, taking them to the promised land, and they turned their back on him so many times that God said, he declared an oath in his anger, they will never enter my rest. He did not let that generation, that's why they were in the wilderness in the desert for 40 years, because God was not going to let that generation, who were very bad, enter into the promised land. Had to wait till the next generation, and that generation would go into Canaan, to the promised land. Okay, so now Psalm 96. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous deeds among all peoples. For great is the Lord, and most worthy of praise. He is to be feared above all gods, for all the gods of the nations are idols. But the Lord made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and glory are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to the Lord, all you families of nations. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world is firmly established. It cannot be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy. Let all creation rejoice before the Lord, for he comes. He comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in righteousness and the peoples in his faithfulness. Amen. And that was our two Psalms today, Psalm 95 and 96. And now we'll be ending today's Bible reading with Proverbs 14, verses 5 and 6. An honest witness does not deceive, but a false witness pours out lies. The mocker seeks wisdom and finds none, but knowledge comes easily to the discerning. Alright guys, let me go ahead and read through the prayer requests. Please keep the following people in prayer. My mom, Rhonda Karshner, Sherm, Cindy and Jim Welsh, Lori. Lori lost her husband last month. Please pray extra hard for her. They were very, very close. They never, ever had a day apart in their whole marriage, and they were married for many, many years. Dora Carper, Dean Detty, the Burt family, the Doles family, Joyce Light, Elizabeth Jeffries, Garnet Boyer. She's doing better, but she still can't walk on her own yet. So she still needs a lot of recovery. So she still needs a lot of prayers. Layla and her son Emil, Jeanette Rager, Levi Dempsey, and Abby and Jimmy Myers. Alright guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let's bring those souls to Jesus, and God willing, we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another Bible reading. Bye guys, God bless.